zippity-yay. My, oh, my.
Takes everything you've got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You wanna be where everybody knows your name.
It's here. I cannot believe it. It's been such a long, long summer. All those days, weeks, months, even seconds, all gone. This weekend, it's all going to be gone this weekend.
I just seriously think I can't contain my excitement anymore. Let's just get stuck straight into it.
Howdy, I'm Sam. Welcome to the Wobble Enjoy Sports channel. If you're new around here, I hope I can get you to consider liking the content and subscribing to the channel. If you are a regular around these here parts, thank you very much for the continuous support. And this is the Ace High Tips Show. Every week, every Tuesday, possibly Wednesday mornings here or there throughout 2023. This is the place you want to come to. I was pretty damn good on my tips in 2022, averaging about 70% overall. We are going to have an amazing year on this channel. Guests are going to be a regular thing. The skits are going to be coming in thick and fast, and I'm going to be giving more of my opinion on rugby league and other sports as well. But this is the ASI Tips Show for the Rugby League Round 1 2023. Let's get stuck straight into it. The 2023 NRL season starts on Thursday night, where we see the Eels host the Storm, and on tab.com.au, the Eels are $2.15 outsiders, whereas the Melbourne Storm are $1.70 favourites. We know the record for the Melbourne Storm in round one. They haven't lost a round one fixture in 15, 20 years. It's been a really long time for the Parramatta Eels. They've defeated the Melbourne Storm 4 times in a row, dating back to 2021. If you want to include 2020, it's 5 of the past 6 encounters the Eels have defeated the Melbourne Storm. And this contest between the two is going to be the 43rd meeting. And the Melbourne Storm have the ledger at the moment at 24 wins to 18. Just back to the Parramatta Eels, that's not the only 4+ streak that they're on. They're beating the Melbourne Storm. They've beaten the Melbourne Storm 4 times in a row. They've won 4 round one fixtures in a row, and the team lists have just been announced. Beginning with the home side, the Parramatta Eels, surprisingly, this is an initial reaction to their team list, what I do every Tuesday. Their grand finals side, backline anyway, 1 through till 7, they're all returning, which is super surprising considering the injury clouds that a couple of these players have been under. Starting at fullback, Clinton Gutherson, the captain. Then the wingers, Micah Sevo and Bailey Simonson have been named. They were not favourites. They were not odd on to play in round one, but there they are named. And the same can be said for Wanga Blake, who's been named in the centres, and the same thing with Will Penasini. So Will Penasini is in there. Dylan Brown and Mitch Moses are the halves combination. Shifting to the forward pack, Reuben Campbell-Gillard, Junior Paulo, and then Josh Hodgson makes his first grade appearance, his first appearance for the Parramatta Eels. The back row, interesting, is Bryce Cartwright, Matt Dury, and Jermaine Hopgood. Sean Lane was busted with a broken jaw. And then obviously Isaiah Papali'i has shifted out to the West Tigers. Also, Ryan Madison has had to cop a 3-4 game suspension because he was too cheap. Let's shift into the interchange bench now. And the interchange reads Jariah Momosia. That's really cool. I earmarked him to be a breakout player, and he's obviously impressed. He's an absolute skyscraper of a human being as well. So watch Jariah Momosia. He has come from the Newcastle Knights. Jack Murchie, Wiramu Greg, and Makahisi Makatoa. And in 18th jersey is Jacob Arthur. That is a bit of a stronger outfit than what I was anticipating, and it might actually make me change my tip. But we'll look at the Melbourne Storm pack now, and then first of all, 1 through till 7, Nick Meaney is at fullback because Paul Ryan Pappenhausen looks like he's going to miss half the season with that shattered kneecap reconstruction and rehab. Best of wishes to him, man. The wingers, Will Warbrick, who looks a mighty physical thing, bro. And Xavier Coates, he plays his 50th game this weekend, so kudos to him. The centres, Remus Smith and young Tonomapia are in the centres, and that's got to be Remus Smith's first game in half a year or so he'll be knocking off some rust. Also, Cameron Munster, Jerome Hughes are the halves pairing. Nelson Asafa Solomona, he's been named in the front row, not at lock like it was being anticipated or rumoured at the very least. But Nas is going to be in the front row, and Christian Welch has his first game in a year in first grade at the highest level in the regular season, coming back from an ACL reconstruction, and Harry Grant is in there in the hooker position. The back row is Trent Liero, Alicia Katoa, and Josh King. Unfortunately, looks like Tarek Sims, the brand new off-season recruit from the Dragons, looks like he's going to be missing, I believe it's a shoulder injury. I think it's a shoulder complaint, unfortunately, for Tarek Sims. Really looking forward to seeing how he goes in 2023. And then the rest of the bench, or the bench, is Tyron Wishart, Alec McDonald, Chris Lewis, Jordan Grant, and in jersey number 18 is Grant Anderson. In looking up the past 4 encounters between these two sides, the main thing that really sticks out is the matches have been very high quality, one of them going to golden point extra time. But the Parramatta Eels completion rate in all 4 of those games were or 78% above. They were some of the best completion rates that they executed over the past couple of seasons. And the Melbourne Storm, conversely, didn't complete very well themselves. 75%, 68%, 69%. So the weather looks like it's going to be a dry track in Sydney as well. Looks like the Parramatta Eels, they know how to play the Melbourne Storm. They just need to complete really well, but also ensure that they're playing a fair bit of football as well. And the CommBank Stadium record for the Melbourne Storm is not all that crash hot. Since CommBank Stadium opened in 2019, the Storm have played 4 matches there, 3 of them against the Parramatta Eels. All 3 of them they have lost. The only win came against the West Tigers last year in round 1. This is such a big way to open up the season. Yeah, they're not 2 of my favourite sides, but Parramatta Eels, Melbourne Storm, they're huge membership bases, fan bases, and the viewership ratings are going to be through the friggin' roof this weekend. That is a much stronger backline than I was anticipating. That's really throwing me off. The forward pack, though, Tui Kamikamika, I think it's a calf or hamstring injury that's going to keep him out for the next 6 or so weeks as well. The Melbourne Storm, they're certainly vulnerable, but how many times does everybody have to say it? You can't take them lightly, especially in round 1, and especially that it looks like Craig Bellamy is going to have his last season as a head coach for the Melbourne Storm this year. And you don't think that the boys in purple are going to want to maintain that record for Craig Bellamy in round 1 and elongate that and have that 20 odd years since their last loss in a round 1 fixture. But the Parramatta Eels, man, look, my concern is that their back row, Jermaine Hopgood is this young talent that really, he hasn't broken out yet, has he? He's had a first grade debut in a couple of matches here or there, but he hasn't broken out, so we really don't know how he's going to go in brand new surroundings. And it's the same thing with Josh Hodgson and the back row there of Bryce Cartwright, Matt Dury, and then also you've got the likes of Jack Murchie, Wiramu Greg coming off the bench as well. I'm not sure, but then again, you look at the Melbourne Storm's back row, Trent Liero and Alicia Katoa. Katoa's in new surroundings and has struggled to break out, but the potential is certainly there. And Trent Liero is just a solid player that we need to, or I need to see more of as well. It's a very even forward pack, but I am going to go against the grain. I'm going to take the value because those ins for Parramatta in that back line, they're taking on Will Warbrick, young Tonamapia, Remus Smith and Xavier Coates. The best of that back line is Xavier Coates there, and sometimes he can be susceptible to bad defence. And the rest of that back line for the Melbourne Storm, in the second half of 2022, leaked points. They did not look like the normal solid purple wall like we're used to seeing from the Melbourne Storm. So this isn't me just wanting to death ride the Melbourne Storm. I think Micah Sevo, Wonga Blake, Bailey Simonson, Will Penasini, except for Will Penasini, those 3 players were not anticipated to be named. They're there. And, oh man, that is going to be enough for me to tip me over the edge. I think they'll have too many points for the Melbourne Storm. The Melbourne Storm did not look good in the trials either, just quietly. I'm going to go the Parramatta Eels to win this game in a thriller. I'm going to tip an odd scoreline as well. I think Mitch Moses will go for a field goal, and I think we could be looking at a 3 or 5 point victory towards the Parramatta Eels on Thursday night. Moving into Friday night football now. The first game kicks off at 6 p.m. New South Wales time, 5 p.m. Queensland time, and it's taking place from New Zealand at Sky Stadium in Wellington. The New Zealand Warriors are hosting the Newcastle Knights. The Warriors on tab.com.au are $1.52 favourites, whereas the Newcastle Knights are $2.55 outsiders. This will be the 47th meeting between the two sides, and it will be the 5th time that these two clubs have met each other in round 1, and that ledger goes to the Newcastle Knights, 3 wins and 1 loss. This is the first trip to New Zealand for the Newcastle Knights since 2019. This is the first match they've played on New Zealand soil outside of Mount Smart Stadium ever. And their last trip to New Zealand in 2019 resulted in a 36 points to 18 victory at Mount Smart Stadium. So Kalen Ponga would have played in that contest as well. A few players like Daniel Saifiti would have played in that game too. So that's a nice record to have. The Newcastle Knights' recent record in round one is very good, actually. Their last loss actually came to the New Zealand Warriors, and that was in 2017, 2015. But it's been at least 4 seasons since they lost in round number one. And the Warriors since 2017 have gone 4 wins and 2 losses. But this is an extraordinary stat that I'm about to reel off, and you guys got to stick with me on this one. The New Zealand Warriors, since they've started taking games all over New Zealand, country New Zealand, if you will, they have played 28 games since 2001, since they started taking their home games all across the country. They've played 28 games and they've won 7 of them. And one of them was a draw as well. That's an awful and unbelievable record for the Warriors, bro. And they're taking another one to Sky Stadium. And their Wellington record, the New Zealand Warriors, 10 matches have been played there, a majority against the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, admittedly, but they've won 3 occasions and drawn once in 10 attempts. It is an unhappy hunting ground for the New Zealand Warriors, and it is a disastrous record when they take home games on the road across their own country. And just quickly, this is the first game at Sky Stadium since 2019 where the Warriors did pick up one of those 3 wins, albeit against the Cronulla Sharks. Again, this is the Newcastle Knights' first game on New Zealand soil outside of Mount Smart Stadium. So let's go into the team list news now, and let's go hit the Warriors first. At fullback is Chance Nickel-Klukstad. The wingers for the Warriors are Dallin Watene-Zelezniak and Marcelo Montoya, a strong back 3 in my opinion, but the centres do hold a concern for me, and I would have done things differently. The centres are Braden Williami and Adam Pompey. I would have loved to have seen Williami Vailea in the centres as well. And just personally, when Luke Metcalf is ready and available, unfortunately he did his hamstring in training a couple of weeks ago and will miss at least 6 weeks of the season. I would actually be tempted to have Luke Metcalf at fullback and have CNK in the centres, but it's round one. You gotta just roll with it at the moment. So Williami and Pompey are in the centres, and the halves pairing is Tamare Martin and Sean Johnson. The forward pack is as follows: AFB, Mitchell Barnett, and Wade Egan. I'm still unsure on how I feel about Mitch Barnett being in the front row. The back row is Jackson Ford, Marata Niokore, and Tohu Harris. I would have chosen Tohu Harris to be a second row or lock instead of being a front rower like he has been over the past couple of seasons. So, because Tohu Harris does have that ball playing ability to link up to either Reg or so if need be. He's got the experience there as well. So that's cool that Tohu Harris isn't just going to be just a battering ram. He's actually got some ball playing skills that he can utilize and be helpful towards his team. Jackson Ford impressed over the trials period, and Marata Niokore, I think he's going to be one of the buys of the season and be crucially important for the New Zealand Warriors 2023 finals hopes. The interchange bench for the Warriors is Dylan Walker, Bunty Afoa, Josh Curran, and Tom Arley. Not that I think he has made his first grade debut last year or the year before, but the young man has been toiling away and has been getting raps by the likes of Warriors NRL Fanatics. Shout out to you. And yeah, dude, really cool that Tom Arley gets jersey number 17. And there's that man, Williami Vailea, is in at jersey number 18. And just quickly, Freddie Lussick is in there at jersey number 20. Shifting over now to the Newcastle Knights, the fullback, Lachlan Miller, who's come from the Cronulla Sharks at the 24th hour. Then the wingers are Heimel Hunt and Dominic Young. Heimel Hunt, okay then. Anari Tawala and Bradman Best are the centre pairing. Dane Gagai, he looks to be injured. And then the halves pairing is Kalen Ponga and Jackson Hastings. Let's see how that rocks and rolls this weekend. The forward pack, the Saifidi brothers are the starting front rowers, with Jaden Brayley, the captain, being the hooker. The back row for the Newcastle Knights, Frizzell, Fitzgibbon, and Kurt Mann is in there at jersey 13. The interchange bench, Phoenix Crossland, Adam Elliott, Jack Hetherington, Leo Thompson, and Jack Johns is jersey 18. I think the Newcastle Knights, I don't think they'll make the 8, but it's going to be so interesting to see how they go this year, because that team on paper is quality. I don't think they'll make the 8, but I think they can give teams a hell of a headache, bro. And on paper, it is a better forward pack than the New Zealand Warriors. As a matter of fact, it's just a better team, in my opinion, not by a whole lot, by a single cog, I would say. But the Warriors, bro, this is phase 1 of their resurrection. This is the first step. This is the first chapter of a brand new book era that they're writing, and they have to start. They have to start winning in New Zealand to begin making it a nasty place like it was back in the mid-90s to early 2000s. This is huge for the Warriors. I know it's round 1, but I think this is so important for the Warriors to get their season on a good on a good note. $2.55. I can't blame you if you go for the Newcastle Knights. That's a lot of nice value on them. But for me, I'm going to trust that Andrew Webster, the brand new coach of the Warriors. He's going to have a great game plan. He's going to have them fit and firing. It's still a good team. I just think the centers, they're a little bit unproven, or that they are unproven in my eyes, and they're just going to be such a fascinating watch to see how they're going to play this year because of just so many new faces. But I'll tell you what though, Dylan Walker could be the difference because between he and Phoenix Crossland, with all due respect to Phoenix Crossland, Dylan Walker will provide a lot more punch, a lot more creativity than Phoenix Crossland will. So I'm going to go with Thriller. I'm going to go with the New Zealand Warriors to win this game 1-12. And the main game on Friday Night Football kicks off at 7:30 p.m. New South Wales time. The Panthers host the Broncos from Bluebet Stadium. On tab, the Panthers are $1.20 favourites. The Brisbane Broncos are $4.50 outsiders. Round 1 history between these two sides is 3 games played dating back to 1989, and 3 of those, all 3 of them have gone the way of the Brisbane Broncos. The Penrith Panthers' last loss in round 1 was in 2019, whereas the Brisbane Broncos have gone 2-4 since 2017. So they're notoriously slow starters, Brisbane Broncos, but the Broncos did get the victory last year in round 1. Also, the venue history for the Broncos is not all that crash hot. Yeah, they played there last year, but the Broncos, this is only their second visit to the foot of the mountains since 2016, and they haven't won at Bluebet Stadium since the year 2009. So it literally is a graveyard for the Brisbane Broncos. Let's get into the team list news now. The back-to-back premiers are listed as follows. Dylan Edwards is in at fullback. Sunia Toruva and Brian To'o are the wingers. The centres are Isaac Tungo and Stephen Crichton. The halves pairing is Jerome Luai and Nathan Cleary. Moses Leota, James Fisher-Harris and Mitch Kenny is the front row, with Kenny obviously being the hooker. The back row is Luke Garner, Liam Martin. Well, Liam Martin, I thought he was at risk of missing round 1, so that's a great inclusion for them, but we'll see what happens throughout the week. And the captain or co-captain, Isaiah Yeo, is the lock. The interchange bench, Sonny Luke, oh man, he's in for a very important year. Scott Sorensen, Spencer Lenu, Jamin Salmon, and then at jersey number 18 is Zach Hosking, the new recruit from the Brisbane Broncos, who impressed very much so in his first grade debut, his first season in first grade in 2022. Shifting to the Brisbane Broncos now, Selwyn Cobbo is the fullback because unfortunately Reece Walsh fractured his eye socket or did some damage around that area, so he's going to miss this game, probably be back for round 2 against the Cowboys. The wingers are Corey Oates and Jesse Arthurs. Katoni Staggs and Herbie Farnworth are the centres. And Adam Reynolds is going to play. He didn't play in the trials because of hamstring complaints, I think. And Ezra Mam is the 5'8" as well. The forward pack for the Brisbane Broncos, Corey Jensen and Payne Haas start with Billy Walters in at jersey 9. And the back row is Kurt Capewell, Jordan Rickey, and Patrick Carrigan. Oh man, if he can only get better off last year, watch this space. He could be the lock of the year. The interchange bench, Corey Pakes, Keenan Palacia, Thomas Flegler, Martin Sapau, and Dean Mariner is in there at jersey number 18. That's a nice side on paper. That's pretty much full strength for the Brisbane Broncos besides Reece Walsh. And I think they're going to give him some curry. I think they can keep this game between 1 to 12, but I don't think they're going to get across the line. I think this is going to be a good game. I think the place that they can exploit or begin to exploit is the back row of the Penrith Panthers, with Luke Garner shifting from the Tigers to the Panthers. And then Liam Martin probably will have a lot of rust on him, like a lot of other players will this weekend. But I'm going to go the Penrith Panthers to win by a scoreline of about 22 points to 10 or something to that effect. Don't think it'll be 13 plus, but I think with about 10 minutes to go, I think the Penrith Panthers defense will just come to the foray, and I think they'll be just too much for the Broncos to handle, who I think will have a good account of themselves this Friday night. The first Super Saturday is as follows. Game number 1 takes place from 4 Pines Park at Manly. The Sea Eagles host the Bulldogs, and on tab, the Manly Sea Eagles are $1.60 favourites. The Bulldogs are $2.35 outsiders. This will be the 136th game between the Bulldogs and Sea Eagles, and the Sea Eagles have a 12 plus points differential on them. So they've got 12 more wins than the Bulldogs. And since 1973, the Manly Sea Eagles and the Bulldogs have played each other 4 times in round number 1, and the ledger goes towards Canterbury, where they've won 3 of the 4 meetings, and that one misdemeanor was a draw in 1973. Since 2017, the Bulldogs have only beaten Manly once, and that came in round 25 last season with only a couple minutes to go, or just the 1 minute to go, thanks to a Matt Burton field goal that sealed the deal. And also the Bulldogs, they have not won at Brookvale Oval since round 1 of 2016. And just speaking of round 1 for both of these sides, the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs are 2 wins and 5 losses since 2016, whereas the Manly Sea Eagles, they haven't won a round 1 contest since the year they made the grand final in 2013. So if they win this weekend, they might make the grand final. Who knows? We'll see what happens. But overall, Manly are easily the worst performed side when it comes to round 1 fixtures. Just back on to the last time that these two sides played, Manly had another second half collapse. They were up 16-12 at halftime, and the overall completion rate to end the game was 67% to the Sea Eagles, whereas the Bulldogs finished the game at 80%. It was a wet night out there at Accor Stadium, but the Sea Eagles, they were decimated by injury and everything else that happened to them in the second half of last year, and they're a little bit stronger. They're just a little bit stronger, especially with the first name that I'm about to mention. So in team list news, Tom Tavojevic is back since halfway through, the first time since halfway through last season in at fullback. The wingers for the Manly Sea Eagles, Ruben Garrick and Christian Tuipulotu, and the centres, Brad Parker and Talatal Kola. The halves pairing, Cooper Johns and Daly Cherry Evans. Unfortunately, Josh Schuster, who's got himself quite a year ahead of him, did his calf in. He will miss this weekend, but hopes is that he will be back for round number 2. The forward pack, Taniela Paseka and Jake Tvojevic is in the front row. Okay, what happened to Locke? Okay, and then Lachlan Croker is going to be in jersey number 9. The back row, Homali Olakawatu, new recruit Kelma Teolagi, and then Sean Kepi is in the lock position. That's not what I'm used to anyway. KO Weeks is in jersey number 14. Will be interesting to see how he goes. He'll probably play about 10 minutes and just float around dummy half and interject. when possible. Ben Travojevic is jersey 15. Ethan Bullymore and Josh Alloye doesn't get a starting spot, but he is still in there. Tofafoa Sipley is jersey 18 for the Manly Sea Eagles. Shifting over to the Bulldogs, the much hyped Bulldogs. In the fullback position, Hayes Perham. The wingers, Jacob Carraz and Josh Adokar. The centres, Jake Avarillo and young man Paul Alamotti. Admittedly, I've only seen a couple of glimpses of him. He does look big, but this year I'm going to have the microscope on him to see, just to see how I rate him. So it will be interesting to see how this young man goes, because there's been quite a fair bit of talk about him. And then the halves pairing is Matt Burton and Kyle Flanagan. Hope Kyle Flanagan absolutely smashes it this season, like he has done a couple of seasons previously. Max King and Ryan Sutton are the starting front rowers, because unfortunately Luke Thompson is going to miss this game through injury, and Reid Marnie, brand new recruit in jersey number 9 at hooker. The back row, Viliami Kikau, Raymond Fatala-Mariner, and Faamanu Brown is the lock. Okay, I was anticipating he would be jersey 14 to come on and help Reid Marnie, but Marnie is an 80-minute player, isn't he? Jaden Tanner is jersey 14. Corey Waddell, Franklin Pele, and Jacob Preston rounds out the interchange bench, with Braden Burns being jersey 18, 19. Unfortunately, Andrew Davey, who was recruited from Manly, isn't going to play a game against his old club. I thought Andrew Davey would have been a sure thing to fill up one of those interchange spots. But cool to see Franklin Pele is going to get a go this weekend. Very even. A couple of selection surprises as well. Faamanu Brown being the lock. The locks, really. Sean Kepi, can he ball play, or are the Sea Eagles going to just be such a aggressively straightforward forward pack? And then for the Bulldogs is Faamanu Brown. He's got some ball playing skills, bro. He has had a bugger of a few years now. He did some good things last year, but Faamanu Brown will be a really cool link up man for the Bulldogs, interconnecting with Reid Marnie. I really do think this is such an even contest, and I think it is the hardest game to tip of the entire weekend. I cannot deny what Manly did, though. They looked like such a fun side, a rejuvenated, united squad. And with Tom Turbo back, if he can hit the ground running at even 60%, that's going to go a long, long way. Cooper Johns was impressive in the halves. It's such an even matchup. I think if Luke Thompson and Tavita Pangai Jr. were playing in this game, I think I'd be going the Bulldogs, but I'm going to go the Manly Sea Eagles to win this one in a thriller this weekend, 1-12. And the main event on Super Saturday is from PointsBet Stadium, where we see the Cronulla Sharks versus the South Sydney Rabbitohs in the 93rd meeting between the two clubs. The Sharks have the ledger, 7 more wins over the club, and on tab, the Rabbitohs are $1.52 favourites to the Sharks, $2.55 outsiders. The last time the Rabbits won in Shark Park was in 2014. And the last time that the Sharks won a round 1 matchup was in 2020 against the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. And the Sharks' round 1 record is bad as well. It's 2 wins and 8 losses since 2013. But all that is history. It's great to read off and know, but the last time these two sides met was in week 2 of the finals last year, and the Sharks, they just had nothing left in the tank, and they got done in by a South Sydney Rabbitohs side that had a bit of momentum behind them and luck as well. Let's get into the team list news now. And at fullback for the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks is Will Kennedy. The wingers are Katoa and Mulatalo. The centres are Talakai and Jesse Ramian. And the big one in the halves, Matt Moylan. But Nico Hines, Dalian medalist of last year, and he looked to be quite on fire in the trials. But Nico Hines is not going to play this weekend due to a calf complaint, I believe. And Braden Trindle, who is a great second option to be a halfback. He fills that void, and it'll be great to see how he handles himself when the light is definitely bright on Saturday in the main event. And then Toby Rudolph and Braden Hamlin-Uele are the starting front rowers, with Blake Brayley in there at the hooker position. And the back row is Britton Nikora, Teague Wilton, and Dale Finucane. So that means Wade Graham is coming off the bench, and so too with Cameron McInnes, Oregon Kolfusi, and Jack Williams. He can do some good things. Unfortunately, he's had a lot of injuries over the past few seasons, and he's keeping out players like Thomas Hazelton and Jaden Beryl, Connor Tracy as well. But Jack Williams, bro, he can do some X-Factor-ish things sometimes, bro. So it'll be good to see how he goes this weekend. Shifting over to the South Sydney Rabbitohs now, Latrell Mitchell is in there at fullback. The wingers, Alex Johnston and Isaac Thompson. The centres, Isaiah Tass and Campbell Graham. The halves pairing is Cody Walker and Lachlan Ilias. The forward pack now, Tavita Totola, who had an outstanding year last year. Thomas Burgess and Damien Cook in the hooker position. The back row is Kolomatangi, Jai Arrow and Cameron Murray. The interchange bench, Blake Taff. Cool. Blake Taff gets the nod at jersey 14. Michael Cheekham, jersey 15. Mawali and Shaq Mitchell rounds out the bench with Jed Cartwright being jersey number 18. And Hame Sele was a gentleman that got injured in the trials as well. So he's going to miss this contest, because otherwise I'm sure he would have taken a spot up there on the interchange bench. I think the Sharks have got the bench over the South Sydney Rabbitohs, with all due respect. A lot of experience, a fair bit more X factor as well. Oh man, I sort of was thinking that I was going to take the Rabbitohs because Nico Hines wasn't playing, and I'll tell you what, but at times last year, the South Sydney Rabbitohs were not convincing. It took them half a season to get freaking going just quietly. And the Sharks, they already look going. They look well-oiled, if you remember what they did in the trials. Sharks look good, bro, but Braden Trindle, bro, you got so much pressure on you this weekend. I don't know. I don't know how Sharks fans are going to feel about that. Whether or not he is under pressure, or if it's okay. It's round one. I don't know. But minus Nico Hines, bro, who is a massive loss. Braden Trindle would know the system perfectly. It's just his kicking game. Sometimes he can lack the confidence to execute properly, whereas the South Sydney Rabbitohs, their backline is deadly as the back row is going to give Teague Wilton, Britton Nikora, and Dale Finucane some serious headaches, bro. That's where the South Sydney Rabbitohs can win this game, is in the starting forward pack. But then the interchange bench for the Sharks, in my opinion, is a cog or two stronger than South's interchange bench. This is going to be such a good game. A really good game of footy, bro. Wouldn't it be fantastic if Braden Trindle slotted the match-winning field goal this weekend, eh? Yeah, bugger. What a bugger. I just don't think Braden Trindle can link up with his outside men as crisply, as swiftly as Nico Hines has done over the past year or so. Bugger. The value is there for the Sharks, but I'm not going to take it. I'm going to take the South Sydney Rabbitohs to win this one. I'm not confident. It's going to be a great game. I hope Trindle comes out and wins it for him, but just... I'm going to take the South Sydney Rabbitohs to win this one by literally 1 or 2 points. It's going to be that close. Now we're on Sunday afternoon football, and game number 1 is arguably the most anticipated, most intriguing game of the round. The Dolphins have their first ever game against the Sydney Roosters, and in a really classy touch, because this immortal, played for both sides. They're playing for the Arthur Beetson Cup this weekend, and it's taking place at Suncorp Stadium as part of Channel 9's Sunday afternoon football. The Dolphins, however, are $6.50 outsiders. The Roosters are $1.11 favourites, and I don't have much history to go on. I don't have much to talk about when it comes to history, because the Dolphins ain't got none in first grade anyway. But the Roosters, however, they've won 4 of the past 6 matches that they've played up at Suncorp, and that includes the years where the pandemic ruled with a golden fist over the NRL for a couple of years as well. So the Roosters are not doing too badly when they travel up to Suncorp as well. So let's go straight into the team list news now for the Redcliffe Dolphins, the first ever team for the Dolphins. Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow is the fullback. I hope he goes good, bro. The wingers, Jermaine Azarko and Tessie New. The centre combination of Brenko Lee and Ewan Aitken. The halves pairing, Isaiah Katoa got it over Anthony Milford. Katoa is such an impressive bloke. He's only 19. He's only 19, and his first grade game is against the Sydney Roosters. But he was fantastic in the World Cup for Tonga, though. He is such a good talent, and he's partnered with a really solid halfback in Sean O'Sullivan. The forward pack, Jesse Bromwich, Jared Wallace start with Jeremy Marshall-King and hooker. And I think while they got flogged 40-16 in their second trial, the Dolphins, Jeremy Marshall-King was very impressive. He was very impressive for the Dolphins. The back row, Felice Kaufusi, Kenny Bromwich, and Tom Gilbert as well, locking in the scrum. The interchange bench is Herman Esayese, Mark Nichols, Ray Stone, and Kurt Donahue has been rewarded for a pretty nice first 2 weeks of trials, actually. So that's a great moment for Kurt Donahue to make his first grade debut. That's good stuff. And then in jersey 18, unlucky, in my opinion, to just miss out is Connolly Lemuelu, but he'll be featuring in first grade this year, undoubtedly as well. Shifting over to the Sydney Roosters now. James Tedesco is the fullback. Daniel Tupou and Jackson Paulo are the wingers. The centres, Joseph Sawali. They've put in his middle name there too, just quietly. I haven't seen that before. Joseph Okuso Suali'i, and then Corey Allen is the other centre. And the halves pairing, Luke Keary and Sam Walker, play their first games for 2023. They did not play in the trials. The forward pack for the Roosters is as follows: Lindsay Collins and Matt Lodge, and Brandon Smith is the hooker. Egan Butcher, Nat Butcher, and Victor Radley are the back rowers. The interchange bench, Drew Hutchison, Fletcher Baker, Noah Fahu White, Terrell May in jersey 17, and 18th man, unlucky, just quietly, Jake Turpin in jersey number 18. So Jared Warrior-Hargreaves and Joey Manu are not playing for the Sydney Roosters this weekend. And okay, those are a couple of big losses for the Sydney Roosters, bro. And $6.50 might not be the price on the Dolphins come kickoff. That should come in a little bit more when they catch wind that JWH and Joey Manu aren't playing this weekend. Luke Keary and Sam Walker, they're going to be rusty. Corey Allen and Jackson Polo as well. Oh man, I don't know. I think they're a sniff now, the Dolphins. I really think that they're a sniff. And $6.50 is a fair bit of disrespect about them too. But I am going to play it safe. I'm going to go the Sydney Roosters to win this one by 1-12. I don't think it will be a smash-up derby. The Dolphins will be interesting to see how they play, won't it? But I'm going to tip the Sydney Roosters to win this one 1-12. And then finally, the last game of round number 1 is coming to us from Leichhardt Oval, where we see the West Tigers host the Gold Coast Titans, and the Tigers are $1.70 favourites on tab, whereas the Titans are $2.15. This is the 25th meeting between these two sides, and believe it or not, the Gold Coast have the ledger on them. They have the best record over the West Tigers. It is their best record over anybody in the NRL for the Titans. It's 15 wins and 9 losses for the Titans. So they know how to beat the Tigers. They are the bogey team for the West Tigers in that little world anyway. So the Gold Coast have played at Leichhardt Oval on 3 occasions. This will be the 4th, and they have won 2 of them, lost the other one as well. The Titans are on a 3-match winning streak against the Tigers as well. And their round 1 history, their last win, though, was in round 1 of 2018. So it's been at least 4 years since they've won in round 1. And then the Tigers, their last victory came in 2020 in round number 1. So let's go into the team list news now, because these two sides are going to be really keen. I'm going to be really keen to see. Dane Laurie is the fullback, Norfoluma, and Charlie Staines. So Ken Mamalo misses out. And Brent Naden and Tommy Talau are the centres. And then Adam Doohy and Luke Brooks is the halfback. So those are the halves pairing. The forward pack is Uto Ikamanu and David Clement to start. And then Api Coruscant is the hooker for the Tigers. The back row, Papali'i, Sean Bloor in their jersey 12. That's a fantastic piece of news for that young man. Under 19 State of Origin captain from a couple of years ago. And Joe Ofahengawi, the Tigers player of 2022, is in that lock. The interchange bench, Jake Simpkin, Alex Tawal, Fonua Pole, and Asu Kapoa. Asu Kapoa, really? They're going with a winger centre coming off the bench, are they? And then Alex Seifarth, unlucky to miss out, in jersey number 18. A couple of surprises there. Let's shift over to the Gold Coast Titans. AJ Brimson is at fullback. The wingers are Jojo Fafita and Olafiana Khan Pereira. Boy, howdy, he's going to be one to watch this year. Aaron Shulp and Philip Sami are the centres this weekend. Could be this year. And then the halves pairing is Kieran Foran and Tanner Boyd. The forward pack is Jamin Jolliffe, Tino Fa'asuamala-Aui, and Sam Verrills is the hooker. The back row is Fafita, Fermor, and Liu. And the interchange bench is Jaden Campbell, Erin Clark, Mwaki Fodawaka, and Joe Stimson, with Sam McIntyre being jersey number 18. The interchange benches for both those sides are a little bit disappointing, a little bit queer, man. Asu Kapoa coming off the bench, in jersey 17. I wonder if that will change. And then Joe Stimson, Erin Clark, and Fodawaka. That's not a big forward pack to combat the huge West Tigers forward pack that's going to be in 2023. Sam McIntyre could come in. I don't know, man. I think those interchange benches are really strange, bro. And it's obviously clear that Api Coruscant isn't going to play the full 80 minutes. I think Jake Simpkin will come on for a 10-15 minute stint. This is all of a sudden very difficult to tip. But I'll tell you what, I think I'm going to go the Gold Coast Titans in this one. I know they're at the 8th wonder of the world at Leichhardt Oval, the Tigers. It's going to be packed to the rafters. It's going to be so interesting to see how Luke Brooks can play his first game this year. He might be a little bit underdone, and that's a reason why I am leaning towards the Gold Coast Titans. But that interchange bench, bro, it's got Jaden. Man, if they're going to play quick, they have to play quick. The Gold Coast Titans, Jaden Campbell, Erin Clark, Fodawaka, and Stimson. Stimson, I should say. It's not a big forward pack, and the Tigers are huge. But are the Tigers going to be good enough? Are they going to be smart enough to swamp them, so to speak? But I'll tell you what, they're going to run around them big time. The Titans, if they can. And if the Tigers forward pack gasses out by the 60-minute mark, I'm going to tip the Gold Coast Titans. I don't think I've tipped an upset this weekend. I'm going to do it here. I'm going to go the Gold Coast Titans to win this one in a thriller. I just think they've got a few more points in them, to be honest. But that back line, let me just have one more look at them again. The back line of Laurie, Norfoluma, Naden, Talau, and Staines. I mean, they'll get 2 or 3 tries, but I think the Titans can get 4 or 5. And that's why I'm going for the Gold Coast Titans to win this one 1-12. Yo, that's it for me. That's round 1 done and dusted, you freaking beauty. Enjoy your weekend. So good to be back talking footy. This has been the Ace High Tip Show, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Hope you guys can please like, share, and subscribe. Adios.